Welcome to PETA Podcast. Today I'm joined by Kelly and Sophie to talk a bit more about the community that is PETA and how L&D can really support business to make long-term investments and impact. Welcome, Kelly. Do tell us a little bit about you and who you are and where you work.
Hi, thank you. I'm Kelly Sunderland. I'm the European HR and Training Director and Site Manager for PEI Genesis. I've been there 17 years and in HR for 30 years.
Amazing. Thank you. Welcome, Sophie.
I'm Sophie. I've been at PEI Genesis for 13 years now. I landed in the L&D European training role 4 years ago now. I've just finished a qualification in organisational learning and development. Learning and growing. It's great.
Wow, they're quite extensive times, aren't they, in PEI? So 17 and 13 years. So what keeps you there?
I think the culture, I'd like to think I had a little bit to do with it from an HR point of view and with Sophie with the training as well. I think the old adage of, it's very cheesy, but, work hard and play hard. We have that culture. We're a very successful business of $300 million. However, we have to have some fun along the way as well. And I think we give people the space. We don't micromanage people to thrive in the roles that they have. So we have a very low turnover of staff, at about 1.2%.
Amazing.
Yes.
That's very low.
Yeah, so it's particularly in Europe. So we're very proud of that. Yeah,
that's amazing. So I'm going to ask Sophie then the same question, if that's okay. Go for it, Sophie. Why 13 years? Why did you stay there?
I'm going to say the same thing, just in a different way.
Yeah.
The people.
Okay.
The people is what makes it, which generally is, it's also obviously made up of the culture as well. But I've made friends. There's people who I admire there who have lots of experience, lots of knowledge. And it's a place that you can always turn to somebody when you've got a question and you need an answer. I've grown up there. I started there when I was 21. I can't imagine being anywhere else right now. So yeah.
So people really work for people.
Yes, absolutely.
So that doesn't happen by mistake, does it? It doesn't happen by accident.
No.
How do you get to that type of culture? And what HR? Let's talk about HR and culture.
Okay, so we have a set of values. They're called the I Care values, and it's something from, we're still a privately owned business. We've been running for 80 years. So Stephen took over the business in 1973. He's well in his 70s now and still running the business, running around the world. And he has that passion, and it's everyone wants to do it for him, not in a weird cult way, but we're not all praying to but equally it is that passion. We take the values very seriously, and we try and work with them and abide by them. We also like to develop people, so we're still small enough. Whilst we're big corporately and financially, we have less than 250 staff in the whole of Europe and about 180 in the UK. So each person does a lot and are happy to do that. But with each person, I think there is that passion because of the I Care values. As Sophie said, we've built some firm friends across the way, and we do see each other as friends. There's still, don't get me wrong, there is still a level of process and policy we have to follow, for what we build and what we do, goes into some extreme things like aircraft and oil rigs. So it's not a party, but equally, while we're working, I think it's important that people have that desire and engagement that they want to be developed, and we let people be developed. We've had people move around the business from the shop floor into the offices. People move sideways. Sophie is a classic example. Sophie's had many roles in the business, which means now she's in the training manager role. She's done the job. She's done the job that she's training in, so that's really important.
And so that starts with recruitment, I guess.
Yes.
So if you've got a low turnover, how do you deal with recruitment if it's not done regularly to make sure you get the right people? That's a really tough thing to do.
We try and balance it. I call it bringing in new blood. So sometimes it's important for certain roles we bring in new blood, and sometimes it's important to develop people throughout the business, and it's always about the right person for the job. And that's so corny, but it's true. I appreciate there's lots of discussion at the moment about AI and certain age groups, but you know what, it's about the right person for the job. It might be a 65-year-old, it might be a 22-year-old, and there's a certain a certain fit within PEI. Not that we're all the same. I think the difference is important. I've worked for some very large corporate companies where if you had to be a triangle, and if you weren't a triangle, you didn't even get an interview. I don't agree with that. I feel you need to have people confident to recruit, people knowing what they want, and sometimes looking at it from a different lens. I think that's important too, that sometimes we take a chance on people. Yeah. They show a passion for the business, and therefore we go, okay, we'll try them in that role. We've got that beauty to be able to do that because we're not a corporate animal, we're a family-run business. So I think that's really refreshing.
That's amazing. So Sophie, tell us a bit about your career then, because it'd be really interesting to see it in action.
Yeah. So I started when I was 21. I started as a sales support coordinator. And then I actually very quickly moved into a maternity cover role. So it was sales support team leader. I stayed in that role for 5 years until I myself left to have a child. And then when I came back, I went into the purchasing department. So I was a buyer. And then I was there for another 4 or 5 years. And that's when the training role came up. And obviously now I'm in the training department, and it's great because I have a good knowledge of the processes and PEI, and also Kelly's enabled me to obviously learn more about learning and development and organisational development, and that's obviously why I've done the qualification. So I feel like I've got a good balance of both process and actual L&D and theory and practical application.
Okay, great. So let's talk about L&D then, because you invest in L&D, as you say. You're not a large business from a headcount point of view, and usually we hear that that's one of the roles that isn't invested in when times are tough. So why is that so important, and how do you get the family business to invest in L&D?
I think, particularly in Europe, I have a real thing about the training budget. When I do the headcount budget, I have a thing that the training budget has to be 1% of the payroll. Doesn't always happen, but that's our starting point. So, we have a healthy payroll, so that should be a healthy training budget. And we're very lucky we have an internal team, but it is only a team of 2, so Sophie and one other. We also obviously use PETA a lot. I used to work here, and I brought PETA with me many, many years ago, and we are, that first point of call. You are a first point of call. Sometimes it's hard. Yeah. Sometimes it is hard. I think they don't always see that instant investment because they want to see something straight away. I think if it's in, obviously we use your engineering school as well. If it's engineering, it's something practical, then yes, you can see it straight away. Yeah. Have they learnt to use that lathe? Yes, they've learned to use that lathe. Great. We can see it. For management training and more of the soft skills, that is hard to look at the sort of return on investment. But Sophie is very good at sort of looking at the long-term game, and we sell it and package it in a way that because we've both been there a long time, and a lot of the senior management team have been there a long time, and we have a seat on that table, we can explain to them, what success looks like. And most of them buy into it, definitely.
Okay, amazing. So let's talk about, you've talked about PETA a couple of times and our support in that. So part of the reason for these podcasts is to really share the expertise within our network back out to the rest of the network, because actually we've got a great community here in PETA. And Kelly, you've been a real ambassador of ours for quite a long time now. So let's talk through that and how that works, because you really do support us and are an advocate.
So if I go way, way back, I've been working with PETA for over sort of 30 years. I was a customer, first of all, and then I came here for 4 years as the corporate manager and HR consultant, which I loved. And one of the key parts for me is that trusted advisor. We very much we have that saying at PEI, and I feel that's what I get with you guys. And I think it's that the people by people. Again, I've lots of corny things today, but it's true. People by people. And I was already invested. So when I moved to PEI from PETA, I very much was keen to carry on that relationship. But you have to then still prove yourselves, because of course I'm going to fly the flag. I used to work here. One of my mentors, she's still my mentor, is from PETA. So I guess it's more sort of from Sophie. I sold the dream of PETA, and we've had great success. But Sophie's very much living and breathing with you guys all the time. So if Sophie wants to add to that, that would be good.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, PETA's allowed me to grow as well, particularly with I've been to the L&D workshops a couple of times now. I've obviously been on courses myself at PETA, and it's something within our organisation. When someone requires some development, or they're potentially going into a step-up role, or maybe taking a side step, the first thing anybody says is, "Oh, can we look at what PETA provide?" It's just something that's known within PEI, and we'll always come to you for that consistency, and also, as well as Kelly said, because we trust that it's going to be a good standard. And we've had many successful people go on the Management Essentials course, the Mate to Manager course. Obviously, our engineers have done apprenticeships here. So we've had a lot of success with PETA for our organisation. And so that in itself is just proof of how good the relationship is.
And so the relationship, and this isn't about PETA, but about L&D and supporting the people, is all about getting those people in the right square pegs in square holes and round pegs in round holes.
We are very much about that. I always talk about the bus, and some people, we want the right people on the right seats. And, sometimes we have to accept that no matter what we try and do, occasionally that they're on the wrong bus. Yeah. They need to be on a completely different bus, and that's fine too. But the people that are on the bus, we have to make sure that we're constantly developing them, which I believe is why we have a low turnover of staff, because it's not a bottomless pit of money. So we do have, and as times get harder and harder, we know it's crucial that we have the right level of training, but the right quality of training. So it's key that we build up those relationships, and obviously PETA are one of them.
As ambassadors then of PETA, you engage with our workshops, which is really useful to us as well as to you, because it gives us all those insights back into PETA so we can continue to develop programmes and supports. And obviously there's a lot happening now in the world. You've just mentioned about it's tough out there at the moment. The world of technology is moving really fast, and so we're thinking lots and lots now about how we support people to think into the future, to continue to learn. Is there any activities that PEI are doing to think about that continual learning rather than just how to use a lathe? Is those things that are interesting?
So obviously when I've been to the workshops, when I go back, I obviously take back the discussions that we've had here, particularly on AI. Our internal IT departments are always discussing AI and what we can do to help grow our teams and learn them how to use it safely but effectively. So it is something that's on the agenda, and it's growing. We're talking about it a lot more than we used to. And I would like to consider some of our team coming on an AI course, because I do think it would be very beneficial. And in the world that we're living in, it's, there's a lot changing. We need our team to grow and to be more adaptable.
And the right people on the right seats. Now the world of technology is changing. Do you think the same people will be on the same seats or different seats? Are there new roles? How is that transition happening?
Okay. I think AI is amazing. I was petrified of it maybe a year ago, and I have to say Dragon's Den has sort of opened my eyes to that. So the youngsters are certainly teaching this old timer a few things. But I have started to embrace it in the office now, and I have started to use it. I don't think it's going to be a panacea of all the lower level jobs are all going to be gone. Yeah. I think that will be a terrible thing, because I think there still has to be a human element to it. But I think the roles will change. Yeah. And become quicker and more efficient, so the people that are in those seats can then do other things as well. So I think it's more of it will open up opportunity rather than people losing their jobs, which I know is in the press constantly.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that's what's going to happen.
We're all looking at our businesses now,
Yes.
trying to work out how to navigate this. Yes. And so when you're looking at automation or AI and all those things, are you looking at your key deliverables, or are you looking at your back office first?
I would say back office.
Yeah. You're not alone. I think a lot of people have said that actually let's get that automated, and then we'll worry about the service or the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Interesting. So you've mentioned Dragon's Den, Kelly. You support us
I
every
do.
year with Dragon's Den. It's a real area where we here at PETA want to support young people considering different types of opportunities, not the traditional routes. Where we are based here in Portsmouth, there are some areas of quite serious deprivation, and there's a lot of great potential within those areas. So we really want to work with those schools to help support those young people into great careers. So you support us every year with Dragon's Den, where I'll just talk through what it is. We do projects with a load of local schools, and they come into an evening where during National Apprenticeship Week they present to employers and businesses some of the projects that they've come up with, and usually about moving forward into the future. So tell us a bit about your role in that, why you keep supporting it, and your favourite project.
Okay, so the kids are just fantastic. The level of knowledge of technology that they have is mind-blowing, and the thought that they put into it. And I know from talking to some of the teachers on the evening, the amount of work they have to do to get to that final. In their own time, when they're in a state of starting their exam processes as well. So the confidence of those young people is phenomenal, and I almost get emotional about it, because I find I certainly at that age, I can talk now, but certainly then, I wouldn't dream of getting on a stage and talking about business to business people who I like to think we do know what we're talking about, and obviously we're not scary dragons like you see on the TV. These are young people, but they come up with such fantastic ideas, solutions to some really big world problems. A lot of environmental issues have come over the years. I don't think I can pick a favourite, because each year, Fiona, when we're judging it all, you almost want to give the top prize to all of them, because they all do such a phenomenal job. And I think there's been so many, I think overall, the fact there's lots of environmental things, there's some safety things for young women. I think those are the two maybe themes that I've loved the most.
Yeah, no, and thank you for your continued support. I think each year, as you say, it just blows me away how these young people pull that together. But I've seen people over my career in very senior roles not being able to present a business case in the way that these young, they're 15-year-olds, 14, 15-year-olds present a business case. It's really, really impressive, really impressive. So what's next for PEI then?
Well, we're in a state of huge growth, which is unusual in the current climate, but we are growing, which is great news. I can't even tell you how busy we are. Every department is very, very busy, and trying to keep up with that. From a training point of view, I think it is about developing more and more people to be in the right seat on the bus. And that's for Sophie and her team to, we try and create a training plan. Our financial year is just about to end and start, so we're in that process at the moment of headcounts and training budgets. So it's important that the managers feel that they can come to us, or more so Sophie, to then have their wish lists. But I think that's going to get more and more. There's a lot of new litigious stuff coming up. From an HR point of view, which affects everyone in the business. Some of it's already happened, some of it's about to happen. So we really do need to get those messages out and make sure we do train everybody to that correct standard. So I think it's important.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I mean, the takeaways for me are, 1% of the payroll, that's all you're after.
Yes.
And when you put it like that, it's really hard to say no for the board, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
That's a really nice insight for just to hear. So amazing. Thank you so much.
No, thank you,
Thank
Fiona.
you.